Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Blame It On Ryan, and today I thought it would be fun to take a look at the Switch 2 version of Resident Evil 7. We all know that Resident Evil 9 runs really great on the Switch 2, but did Capcom pay just as much attention to the Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 versions? Well, let's take a look at Resident Evil 7 today, and I already had a versus video up on the channel between the Legion Go S and the Steam Deck Oled, so let's go ahead and take a look at how the Switch 2 version compares to those two. Okay, so right off the rip here, we've got the Legion Go S. This is a Z1 Extreme 32 gigabyte Steam OS model. On the top, we have the Switch 2 in the middle, and then on the bottom here, we've got the Steam Deck Oled. Now, the Switch 2, it looks like I'm not even playing it there. I used a Pro controller with that one and kind of set off to the side. So, and I will say, I'll talk about that a little bit in the video, but I do want to mention on the Legion Go S version, I think I had the brightness cranked all the way to 100 on that. So keep that in mind when you're kind of comparing the screen of the Switch 2 to the Legion Go S. The Legion Go S does look a lot better than I presented it in that versus video. So, and the Switch 2 here is at like 50% brightness. It is running in HDR. Same thing with the Steam Deck Oled running in HDR. And one of the things that really stood out to me right away on the Switch 2 version is, especially versus the Steam Deck OLED, is since they are both running in HDR, you can kind of really see the Switch's limitation with the bright highlights. So on the Steam Deck version, like the lights that are kind of pouring into the rooms here look just really bright and vibrant. Whereas on the Switch 2, it doesn't look like they are those extra bright HDR highlights. And I think that's because the peak brightness of the Switch 2 screen is not that high. So even though it can run HDR, so that's just something that it can't do. It doesn't have those really bright highlights, at least not that I've seen so far. And I think if they said in the specs too, I want to say it's like maybe a 600 nit, 500 nit peak brightness. So that's not real HDR. We all know that. But that doesn't mean that the game doesn't still run great and playable and all that kind of stuff. And it runs really good. So I can say that at least here in this opening area, the Switch 2 version of Resident Evil 7, very buttery smooth, just really, solid locked, consistent frame rate. Feels really good. Feels really nice to play. And so if you are one of the people that have kind of jumped into Resident Evil 9 Requiem here for the first time, and you're like, oh man, this is really great, I need to try some of these other ones, Resident Evil 7 is a really awesome one to jump into. Of course, you're going to see people recommend, oh, you need to play Resident Evil 2, you need to play Resident Evil 4, you need to do this or that, or go all the way back to the beginning, play Resident Evil 1, then 0, then 2. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I've played a lot of them. I played the original way back on PlayStation when it first came out, and I absolutely loved it then. Love it now. I love the remake as well. I think it was the GameCube version from 2002. But I've played Resident Evil 1, 2, 3. I played the 2 remake, the 3 remake. I played Code Veronica. I've played just a little bit of 4. I really need to get back to 4 on the remake. Did not play 5 or 6, but I played 7, 8, 9. I've not played Revelations or any of those. But the Resident Evil 9, what it does such a great job, like the game is so good, it just makes you kind of want to go back and play like all of the previous versions. So I've been kind of like jonesing to go back to some of these games, and I played them. If you guys have watched the channel, you may know that I'm a traditional console gamer, so I mostly have played on Xbox until I switched platforms a couple of years ago. Now most of the time I'm maining on PlayStation. Dabbled a little bit on PC as well, like mostly through the Xbox store, so that way I could keep my achievements and stuff like that. I do see the appeal of Steam, but I'm, like this late into it, I'm like trying to keep my history, so like if I can, I try to play it on like Xbox PC so I can like at least keep my achievements. But in any case, I mostly play PlayStation now is what I typically do. But anyway, so I played Resident Evil 9 on PlayStation, and I really haven't played the Resident Evil games on PlayStation. I played just a little bit, I think, of Resident Evil 7 on PlayStation, but I played the complete thing through Xbox. Played, a lot of the earlier ones, obviously, on the original platforms and things like that. So I could tell you, there's really, you can do whatever you want. If you just like the more modern stuff, you can go back and play you know, 2, 3, 4 remakes, and then go to, if you want to do 5 or 6, then you can go to 7 and 8. However you want to do that. These games are all really good, and they all kind of offer something different. You know, you've heard me on the channel talk about how I like the more you know, like slow, methodical plotting versions of the games, and that is Resident Evil 7. I absolutely love Resident Evil 7. Probably more than most people. I think a lot of people have that up in their, you know, top maybe 4 or 5 Resident Evil games, but not like, say, top 3. Like for me, it's up there in the top 3, I think. And Resident Evil 9, I think, is up there too. Especially the first half of the game, like in the medical center. I forget what it's called, Rhodes Hill or something like that. I adored that area. I thought it was absolutely fabulous. And my favorite areas in these games are like the mansion areas. So like in Resident Evil 7, it's the house here. You know, in Resident Evil 9, it's the Rhodes Hill area. And Resident Evil 1, of course, it is the mansion. Resident Evil 2, it's like the police station, you know. So I love those areas, like the smaller, confined areas, I think are super great. And so, yeah, if you are interested on going back to Resident Evil 7 on the Switch 2, or if you bought the Generation Pack like I did, and maybe you played Resident Evil 9 first, and you're like, okay, should I go back and play them? Are they worth playing it? Or maybe you just bought Resident Evil 9 on the Switch 2, but you didn't get the Generation Pack, and you're wondering, you know, hey, should I spend I think it's $20 on the eShop if I am not mistaken. Don't quote me on it if you're wanting to know if it's worth it, if they paid as much attention to it as Resident Evil 9. At least from this opening section. I haven't played much more than that on the Switch 2, but like this opening section, buttery smooth, no issues at all. And actually on the PC version, on the very opening sequence when you're like driving up to the house, on the Steam version, I had the issue on both PC handhelds where the outside of the, you know, windshield was just that like a red, white, or the red, blue, yellow, green, like the warning image was on the outside. Like it was just totally broken. And it was like that on the Steam Deck and on the Legion Go versions of the PC version. I don't know. But the Switch 2 version, perfect. No issues at all. And again, like once you kind of got out of the car and you start moving, I'm like, oh yeah, it feels good. Feels like a locked frame rate, which I think is important in these games, which is really nice. Like it's just nice to have developers starting to pay attention to optimization these days, because for the last probably, I don't know, X number of years, 5 years, 6 years, like developers have been kind of just like launching hot all the time. And so if you're playing games at launch, man, you just get like typically the worst version of the game. Like you just got like lots of issues of frame rates are all over the damn place. And, you know, sometimes it's nice to kind of play games later. So if you haven't played Resident Evil 7, I think this is a terrific way to do it on the Switch 2. I think is absolutely awesome. It's running really good. It looks really good. You know, if you have other options available, you could, you know, just pick your poison where you want to play. It doesn't really matter. But if you're worried about like, is it going to be good enough on Switch 2? I'd say absolutely. Yes, it is. And I love what they do with Resident Evil 7. And if you didn't watch that other Versus video, like this section that we're in here, this found footage section, it's just like a super clever way to kind of get you into it. Like this is like kind of the tutorial area. And it's just kind of, because this was like most like kind of relaunching the series. And so it's kind of reintroducing people to like some of the mechanics, like how you're going to have to think about like different puzzling and like how you're going to like have to unlock different areas and stuff like that. So they use this found footage, like video cassette thing to, you know, kind of let you walk through. So like you're the cameraman. So you're kind of just observing, but then it kind of shows you like, oh, in that room you were in, you could have done this. And then that hatch opened and now you can go in. And so it's just really cool. I thought it was super clever when I played it. And I think I like it even more now. But hey, if you guys like these kind of videos, please like the video. Drop me a comment down below. Subscribe for more. We're going to have tons of stuff this week. Crimson Desert. I'm going to get the PC Steam version, so look for that later in the week. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.